Hello, this is Paul Browning from Freedom Hygiene, and I've got some exciting ideas that I'd like to share with you over the next few weeks through these short videos. But for starters, let's go back to the Middle Ages, and had you and I been living in the Middle Ages, we would probably have believed that the earth was flat. And at that time, many people, perhaps the vast majority of people throughout the Western world, believed that the earth was flat. This included European scholars and educated people. They also believed that because of this, the sun rotated around the earth, and they said, well, we can see this for ourselves. We'll go out and we'll sit on a hill, and we'll sit there all day and all night, and we'll notice that the sun rises in the east, travels across the sky, rotating around the earth, and sinks into the mountains in the west toward evening time. And if we're prepared to stay there for another 12 hours, the cycle would be repeated, putting the notion forward that the sun revolved around the earth. Now we know this is untrue. So paradigm pioneers like Christopher Columbus, who set sail in his wooden boat in 1492, challenged the current paradigm of the day. He didn't believe, you see, that if you sailed to the horizon where the ocean met the sky, popular belief was you'd fall over the edge to your death. Paradigm pioneers like Columbus said, no, there is something beyond the horizon. And he set sail in 1492, and the rest is well known. He was one of amongst many people in those days who challenged the system. And it's through people challenging the system, challenging the status quo, that civilization has progressed. And we now have technology that we never had before, that our forefathers could only have dreamed of. If we take the nature of reality, from the late 1600s right up until the start of the 20th century, the widely accepted theory of reality was Newtonian physics. This was the dominant worldview. And it took paradigm pioneers like Einstein, who challenged that with his theory of relativity and changed the way we look at things. And as we change the way we look at reality, it changes in turn. So now we have quantum mechanics. I was taught at school that matter is made up of molecules. Molecules in turn are made up of atoms. Atoms in turn are made up of neutrons, protons and electrons, all solid particles. This is what I was taught at grammar school all those years ago. And yet quantum mechanics now is telling us that is not true. That if we go beyond the subatomic particles, and we talk about leptons and quarks and things with fancy names like that, if we get down to the real end of the line, as it were, that matter is composed, physical matter is composed of fluctuations of energy and information in a whole vast hierarchy of all states of energy and information. Now, because we have these people who challenge the paradigms, we're able to move forward. Think of it today. We take now the mobile phone as something, we take it for granted. Yet just a few decades ago, this couldn't have been possible by following the Newtonian physics principles. Quantum mechanics, quantum physics now means that we have phones, we have flat screen televisions, we have space travel. In fact, most of the electronic gadgets around your office and your home are thanks to quantum mechanics. You see, this has enabled us to move forward. Think of people believing in a flat earth. They wouldn't have travelled very far. It was limiting. Now we have space travel. Space travel would not have been possible under the old paradigm that the earth is flat and the sun rotates around the earth. All that had to change before we could make these advances. So now we can hop in an aeroplane, we can fly around the world, no problem. We can send a man to the moon, and we can time the landing of that man on the moon with the precision of a fraction of a second. And we can pick him up and bring him safely back to Earth with the same precision. thanks to an understanding of reality through quantum physics. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because as food professionals, we need to understand that the planktonic cell paradigm is outdated and it's got to be replaced. I'd like to read you just a few lines from this excellent paper which I first discovered in 2016. It's entitled What Food Safety Professionals Should Know About Bacterial Biofilms, and it came from Denise Lindsay and Alex von Holy from the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. It was published in the British Food Journal way back in 2006. And the introduction, a paradigm shift. This is in 2006. Just listen to these words. They say, traditionally, studies on bacteria have focused on the physiology of bacterial cells in the aqueous, planktonic or free-swimming phase. Now, this type of study has enlightened us on pure culture physiology of bacterial cells, and it remains the model for many fundamental microbiological studies. Now, listen to what comes next. However, the planktonic cell paradigm does not accurately reflect the growth of bacteria in nature. Within the last decade, studies have overwhelmingly shown that the association of microorganisms with surfaces is the prevailing microbial lifestyle. It goes on to say further in this paper, and if you want a copy of this, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just email me, paul@freedomhygiene.co.uk. And on page 31, impact of biofilms on food processing environments. This is a significant paradigm shift. Modern food processing supports and selects for biofilm forming bacteria on food contact surfaces due to mass production of products, lengthy production cycles, and vast surface areas for biofilm development. And I will just add one other reason for that as well, in addition to those points, that hygiene windows now in food manufacturing are getting tighter and tighter and tighter to allow production to carry on for longer. I've had the privilege of working with UK food and beverage manufacturers over the last few years. I've had the privilege of working with a project at Camden BRI on looking at biofilms in the food environment, and Freedom Hygiene are industrial partners of the National Biofilm Innovation Centre based at Southampton University. And what is being revealed now is that if we want to get the standards of hygiene in our food processing, manufacturing or packaging facilities to a consistently high standard, we've got to understand that the planktonic cell paradigm no longer works. We've got to understand that between 90 and 95% of bacteria within a food processing plant are going to be in a biofilm formation. And biofilms protect those microorganisms from desiccation, from UV light, from low or high pH, and it makes them very resistant to chemical cleaning and chemical disinfection. See, another problem that we have is this. I've got a report here from a lab, and the company wanted their disinfectant testing to be EN 1276 2019. So they gave a sample to the lab of this particular disinfectant, which I must confess is very efficacious. It was tested against Staph aureus, Enterococcus, Pseudomonas and Escherichia coli. And it came out with flying colours. The only problem with this is that those tests were carried out on bacteria in a nutrient broth in a laboratory in the planktonic free swimming state. That doesn't reflect reality. In reality, those bacteria are not going to be floating around in your food processing environment, in your food factory or drinks factory. They're going to be tied up in a biofilm. See, it's a bit like having a handgun, which I can use. Now, that handgun, which is loaded, is a very dangerous weapon and can kill people and animals. However, if there is a barrier between that gun and the target, then the person on the other side of that barrier is now well protected from the power of the bullet. And this is what we've got with terminal disinfection at the moment in the food industry, that we might have something which has got 1276 accreditation and all the other string of accreditations that you can apply to disinfectants. But unless that disinfectant is getting to the bacteria that it's designed to kill, it isn't going to work. Now, over the next few weeks, I want to share with you some excellent information from a presentation that's been developed over the years. It's called the Rapid Detection and Elimination of Biofilms in Food and Beverage Manufacturing. And we intend to put a post out each week for the next few months and to share with you some great ideas for making sure that we can once and for all get rid of those spikes in TVCs, get rid of those entros in the final product. There's no reason whatsoever why, with the knowledge that we have, with the biofilm paradigm replacing the planktonic cell paradigm, there's absolutely no reason that we cannot achieve the standards of hygiene that we want on a consistent basis. So this is Paul Browning from Freedom Hygiene, and I look forward to seeing you on the next post.